Hey guys, this is one of my days off and I would be at home editing, but I'm taking this time to talk about breakups because one of my friends recently broke up and he posted on Facebook about it, asking a few questions. And for him, thankfully, it doesn't sound super serious. He's around 16, I want to say. And she asked if they could still be friends, which is really good. And it sounds more like, we had fun calling each other boyfriend and girlfriend and doing activities together, kind of like dating or hanging out, whatever they call it now. And but I don't really see this going anywhere. I don't see that we really love each other or anything. So let's not call each other boyfriend and girlfriend anymore. It sounds more like taking a label off than it does ending a deep relationship, which is tough. I've been through one breakup, so I'm sharing experiences from that. And I do also need to point out that growing up, I've been a little bit socially awkward, still now and in the past especially. Part of that comes from the fact that my real dad was stuck in a wheelchair with multiple sclerosis, and so my mom kind of had to care for both of us, and so I learned this very much so, mom does it for you, or you do it for yourself. I never really learned togetherness. Oh, and then pile on top of that my dad kind of sort of doesn't, or didn't, I should say, kind of sort of didn't want help with a lot of things. He wanted to be independent and do it on his own. So a story my mom has is my dad was tying a bow on top of a present for somebody, and then she put her finger down so that he could tie the bow around her finger. She was trying to help him, and he just stopped tying. Didn't want any help. So, keeping that in mind, then we are still friends to this day, and that is a very big, huge, important thing for me. I even filmed her wedding. So, yeah, no hard feelings at all. It was really tough, but the whole time my goal was to make myself happy again and still be friends with her. Like, seriously. One of the points that I'll mention a little bit later on, to mention it now as well, is, she kind of mentioned that sometimes people can't be friends afterwards. And in thinking about that, I can totally see it. I can totally see someone who can't really fully let go, and so they just can't be friends. But, the relationship doesn't work, and so for me, though, definitely, if I knew that there was a person like that, if there was a girl that I was kind of thinking about dating, and I found out that she is kind of that way, that for her, it's kind of hard to be friends afterwards because emotional attachments or whatever, and then I would seriously pray. I would probably spend a month praying to the Lord before I asked her out, because I would want to go in it knowing that we're going to date for a while and get to know each other because that's what you do, and then we're going to get married. If I knew that I would date her and then it didn't work out and then we couldn't be friends because she just can't let go like that, then no, we are not dating unless God specifically tells me to date that person, even though we're not going to get married. Or, maybe he doesn't even say, maybe he just says to date her, I'm going to follow God, but I'm going to be a lot more cautious about it and probably say no if I know that it's going to end and we're not friends anymore. But, I say that about, everyone and apply that to, pretty much everything. If I start doing something that's jeopardizing my friendship with somebody, then I'm going to stop. Because our friendship is more important than whatever it's doing. Well, there are some exceptions, but I've already talked about that. If you go check out my Let's Talk on friends falling away. So it was definitely tough. But there were other things going on during the time that made it harder. There were other things that made it harder. Because I was going through some tough times. One thing I can say is, at the time I was kind of sort of learning, exactly what spiritual promptings are. If you're not religious, basically, I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We're also called Mormons. So, long story short about this, we believe that Heavenly Father, or God, will talk to us through the Holy Spirit. and it's a little bit different for everybody. So I was kind of learning how he communicates to me, and exactly what is a spiritual prompting for me. Felt a little drop, but I'm sure it wasn't. There's no clouds directly above. So I was learning what a spiritual prompting is exactly for me, how kind of he communicates to me. So what is a spiritual prompting? I see more droplets. That's weird. Anyways, but yeah, I was learning what is a spiritual prompting for me, what is not spiritual prompting, what's my brain just coming up with an idea or going off on some tangent about the worst possible scenario, and what is what is Satan saying, you're a horrible person, go jump off a bridge and kill yourself or something. I don't know. I was kind of learning that. There were some things going on, but it was definitely a good relationship. I'm very glad that we had it. It taught me a lot of things and actually really helped kind of jumpstart me getting on a little more social, less socially awkward, and learning a lot of things. Before the relationship, I was like super logical, like too logical. And I actually kind of am like Spock from the original series of Star Trek. He starts out being, he's half human, half Vulcan. And if you don't know, Vulcans are very big on logic. Emotion isn't really a part of their lives. They suppress emotion because logic is more important. There's this saying, like, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, which in his case, kind of a lot of times what ends up happening is, oh no, the spaceship is probably going to get blown to bits by these aliens, and we don't have Captain Kirk back. Well, the most important thing is to save everybody on the spaceship and not worry about Kirk. I'm in command, let's fly away out of here. But then everybody else is like, no, we're saving Kirk. And then they like tackle him to the ground and lock him up somewhere, and they go and they save Captain Kirk just in the nick of time and fly away. And when Spock was just ready to go now, logic says it's not necessarily possible to save him. There's a mosquito eater. There's like a 1 in a billion chance that we'll save Kirk. We need to save everybody else. Needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. But he did get more emotional as he went on. And so for me, before the relationship, when I was young, the logical thing kind of was, you know what? A bean and cheese burrito from my favorite Mexican restaurant sure sounds good right now. Or how about some pizza? Yeah, that sounds good. But let's just eat out of the fridge at home so we save money. Because then if we save money, there's a chance that we might be able to convince Mom to spend that money on buying us a new Star Wars Transformer. And a Star Wars Transformer is going to last years. That burrito is going to be gone in 10 minutes, okay? Don't choose the burrito. Okay, great. And that's kind of what we'd do. A lot of times we'd say no, and we kind of actually really did want the burrito. So going through the relationship, the first bit of logic, the thing that got me kind of started on, I'm maybe a little bit too logical, connecting more with my emotional side. And there's even a poem about this that I wrote that I'm going to read at some point on here, and I think it's on my wallet pad. If not, sorry, but it will be up there eventually. But so the first thing that happened is we were walking somewhere. I think it was toward prayer, and she asked me how I felt about holding hands. I forget exactly how I said it, but basically I said no. And the reason for that was, well, okay, so I'm planning on going on a mission. That's great. And I was kind of letting her control the relationship because she asked me out. So, being the slightly social awkward kid that I am, I was kind of assuming, she asked me out, that means she's taking the lead. I was thinking if a girl asks you out, that means they have kind of a plan in mind, and it's not just, I love you, now what? It's, I love you. I'm now going to ask you out on a date. I'm going to plan some fun activities to do. I want to specifically get to know you and do stuff together. And actually, okay, I need to back up a bit, and then we'll get to the hands thing. So, Because this started when she was dating my friend, and then they broke up. I didn't really even know that they were dating. It wasn't like a super public made thing, but then also back then I was very much so, how about me? Here's some cool stuff. I didn't know a lot about my friends. I didn't think to ask questions of my friends, and it makes me sad. Because then I think about all the people that I had as friends, and that I kind of still have as friends from when I was young. And it's like, if there was something they were very vocal about, like if we were all getting together for scouts, which is mostly when we hung out, if we were getting together for scouts, and then one of them was very vocal about something and said, ew, I hate that kind of cheese. That's how I knew that they didn't like that kind of cheese. Other than that, I never really found out much about them, and I think about them, it's like, I don't really know a whole lot about them, and it kind of makes me sad. That's part of why I didn't know that they were dating too, but they were, and they had a breakup, and apparently she had asked him kind of about me and what I'm like, and, you know, she decided to go with me, and first it started, we hung out one day, when, like, she asked me for some help with something, and so I went over and helped her, and then she asked what I was going to do the rest of the day, which I was doing some testing for some music videos. Okay, so I'm trying to decide how to, because I kind of don't want to say, like, who she is. But then this next bit is, I'm going to say this next bit in a certain way, and then I'll send it to her, and if there's any issues, I'll take it down, and I will do some editing and then re-upload it. So, there was... What's the word? There. So, I was doing some testing for some music videos. This was remember the Total Fusion music video preview? I'm still going to finish that at some point. But, also for the Holocaust Wave music video. And so I was going to go do some testing to see what kind of shots I wanted for those and stuff. And so she kind of agreed to come along and help out. And she actually ended up being in the little bit of the first music video. There's going to be somebody new, but she ended up being in that. And so it started with that, and then it progressed to... one day, you know, it was a little bit difficult for her, but she kind of sat me down at my house, and then she was like, Caleb, I like you. And in my mind, I didn't say this out loud, but I was thinking, oh, hey, cool, you know, I'm planning on going on a mission. I did let her know of that, but also like, okay, cool, so now she's kind of taking charge, because she asked me out. This is great. I'm not going to say no, even though I'm going on a mission. That was my whole thing. I'm not going to ask anybody out because I'm going on a mission, so what's the point? Which there actually kind of is a point, and I had been on a couple of dates before that, so I considered that to be dating experience, which definitely not a good dating experience. They weren't bad dates, but at the same time, 2 dates isn't enough for an experience. This relationship was really, really helpful, because you need experience when you come back, otherwise it's going to be, like, super awkward. Like, I could tell you about the church, but I don't know much about dating, is what it might end up being. So I was thinking she was going to take charge, but it ended up not being that way. It ended up being that I was kind of doing something, and so then, you know, eventually she was like, aren't you going to ask me on a date? And I was like, oh, I thought you were going to, because you asked me, you know, but I'll plan something. And so we worked on something that didn't quite work out and didn't happen. We were going to go fight in the park with, like, you know, the foam swords where you put pool noodles on the end of PVC. I made some of those, and I did end up using them with her and some other friends, but it wasn't really a date. But, so, anyways, back to the hands thing. So, back to the holding hands thing, I basically said no. And the logic behind it was, I'm going on a mission. It's a very, very good thing. Now, if I hold hands with her, I mean, when people hold hands, it means they're pretty close. So, if I hold hands with her, it means we're going to get closer together. I'm going to love her more, and because I love her more and we're closer together, then I might not want to leave because I'm going to lose her. I mean, going on a mission, you pretty much guaranteed not to have the girl around when you go. And the big reason for that is because they don't want to wait. They find somebody else while you're gone that is just as good, if not better than you. And I don't want to wait for eternal salvation and having kids. I want to get started now, so I'm going to do that. So going through this whole relationship, my kind of expectancy was, so I'm going to go on a mission relatively soon, which this was like 3 years ago. So, yeah. No, 4 actually. So, but my plan was I was going to go on a mission soon, and then... What is he even leaf blowing? 1 second. Looks like he's maybe blowing dirt off the path. So, yeah. Anyways, it was very much so, you know, until we get close together, and then I won't want to leave. And, you know, because, you know, 90% of the time you lose a girl, and my expectancy was, so I'm going to go on a mission, and I'm not going to expect her to wait for me. We'll be together until I go, which it didn't end up working out that way. Probably good that it didn't. I mean, especially with the time it's taken me. But I think also we would have, if not then, we would have definitely broken up later, because I was planning on going and all the time that it was taking. But really, yeah, it was difficult. But that was kind of my logic. And then we kind of had a mini breakup in the middle where she was like, you know, I kind of want to break up and it's not going anywhere. And so, you know, after that, it was really sad for like a couple of days or so. And I started... But then I started changing some things really quickly and realizing part of it was because I wanted her back, but I was like, hey, I think I texted her and said, hey, you want to try this one more time? I'm willing to hold hands now. I've realized a lot of things that are kind of stupid that I, you know, like it's totally okay to hold hands and stuff like that. Little things were changing. And so she's like, okay, yeah. Because she very much wanted it to still be going too at the point. And yeah, very, very difficult. It was... We'll try this. So it was kind of not very... It was hard. It was hard for me, and it was hard for her when we fully did, but coming back to it was good. I was able to... It went a little bit longer, and I was able to learn a lot of things. Basically, it was good that we continued it on again. I learned a lot of good things about myself. And at the time, I was, you know, the spiritual issues, like learning how the spirit communicates to me. I was also at a period where I was still, I'm still having spiritual issues now. Remember when Green died, and, you know, the quote-unquote smoking, where I related my issues to smoking, but it's not. So I'm still having problems with quote-unquote smoking. But the thing is, but it was more so back then, and back then I was also more so in a state of being mean to myself, like, you went out and had a cigarette again, you're a worthless piece of trash. It was horrible, trust me. But one of the things that I learned going through that too was also, I learned how much I was hurting myself by saying no to the bean and cheese burrito. You know, like, and there was a period where, like, I'm getting a ride home from Daniel evening from one of my friends. We were with another friend, and my other friend hadn't really had dinner, and so we were gonna stop by and get him something to eat. And he was gonna buy it, but then my friend who was driving offered to buy, and he asked me if I wanted anything, and I said no, because I've got food at home, save my friend money, all the logical reasons. And then afterwards I realized, oh, I actually kind of really did want a spicy chicken sandwich. I should have said yes, and now I'm kind of sad. And I realized that all the times that I was logically, and most of the time I didn't actually get like a Star Wars Transformer. However, it did save some money, and that did kind of sort of help. But the times that we were actually like thinking about getting something out to eat, it wasn't really a time. It wasn't a time where there were like issues with things. It wasn't a time where there were issues with things, money-wise, sorry, and where like oh, so we couldn't right then, because we totally could. I learned just how much I was actually hurting myself by saying no, and it was not fun, especially once I realized that, and all of the logical things I was saying that weren't gonna come true at all. I, learned how much I was hurting myself emotionally because of all the times that I had said no because logic. And sure, there are other things that I learned that I kind of can't remember right now, but it was really, really tough. And so we went on for, I forget how long this was going on, but then, eventually we broke up, and she could tell the whole way that I was still very much attached. And then back then, I was definitely the type of person that didn't know when to, like, stop, or, I would always talk a lot. And like seriously, I'm the type of person, less so now. I'm better at recognizing other people, and when they kind of want me to stop, I'm better at it. But back then, it was very much so. You have to be blatantly honest with me. I mean, if you're looking like kind of bored, if you're looking like you're maybe not really interested in what I have to say, kind of a thing, and all the visual signs and cues, that wasn't me back then. You would have to say, can we stop talking right now? I would like to go home, I'm getting tired. You would have to say that to me, otherwise I wouldn't even see it. And part of that, which is an issue that I'm working on now, part of that is when I'm telling you the next greatest idea that's going to make the world a better place and do amazing things with this gadget, I'm up here looking at the blueprints and videos that I've made in my head of people using the thing. I'm not here looking at you falling asleep. I'm better at it now, but back then... So one of the things I also like to say is, I want you to be blatantly honest with me. But, so yeah, I want you to be blatantly honest with me. If, well, that's what I think. I think that I want people to be blatantly honest with me, and, like, if, the example is cooking. Like, if you try a recipe of mine, I would rather, instead of being like, it's okay, not the best, it's okay, a little bit unusual, but it's okay. I would much rather that you express your inner feelings and say, this is an absolute piece of trash, and throw it on the floor. This is disgusting. Don't ever make this horrible thing again. I don't want to be friends with you if you do. I would rather that happen than it's okay, which most people aren't going to do that, and kind of makes me sad. And, like, the thing I also kind of say sometimes, like, with that same scenario, I would be more sad if I found out from somebody else later on that you thought it was disgusting. It's going to make me sad, and maybe just a little bit angry. But the anger and the sadness has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that you thought my food was horrible and I'm a bad cook. And everything to do with the fact that you didn't have the courage to tell me in my face that it was disgusting. But then the other half of it, too, is nobody has really been blatantly honest to me like that. Could I actually take it? Could I actually take some, like, if I was running my own restaurant? Could I actually take some random customer yelling in my face and saying that my food was a piece of trash? I don't know. I like to think that I could, but then part of me has absolutely no idea. But so back then, I kind of did need kind of be a little more blatantly honest. And my mom mentioned that she had talked to her, my girlfriend had talked to her about, like, he talks a lot. And she mentioned that you kind of have to be more blatantly honest with me. And so then afterwards, I think she was a little more blatantly honest with me. And I learned pretty quickly that she had another boyfriend, which was really hard for me, and it really stung me. And I worked hard not to show it. I worked hard not to say anything about it. That was the other thing I learned, too. I also learned that it's not necessarily good or healthy to be 100% happy when you're out in public all the time. Like, if something's eating you up, you shouldn't just go into a public place and be like, someone possessed my house and I lost my car, and no, you shouldn't do that. But you shouldn't, if you're going through a tough time, it's okay to go somewhere and be a little more sad than, because if you go somewhere and you're always like, hi guys, that's putting on a face. And it was especially hard then too, and you sometimes do have to put on a face, but at the same time, don't feel ashamed about showing a little bit of other emotions when you're out in public. But it was really, really tough for me. And seeing them together was tough too, but that kind of goes with any breakup, really. And you're going to have to get through that one. You're going to have to accept it. Whatever it takes, take some time to accept it, but also, like, seriously, try and still be friends. I'm glad that we're still friends to this day. We haven't, like, talked in a while. She texted me the other day. But we haven't, like, specifically talked in a while or done anything, and I'm fine with that. Ugh. What else? Oh. During that period, though, I kind of sulked down and wanted to do not much of anything, really. And, like, here's a good explanation of the emotion behind it. It's like, my mom needed help moving a table from one end of the room to the other in the house. And I'm like, no, I don't want to right now. Too sad. He's like, but sometimes you have to help. And it is true that you kind of have to go on and do things in life. But at the same time, it's like, no. Do you realize what I'm going through right now? Do you want me to punch you? No, I am not going to help you move that table across the couch across the room, because I just had a breakup, and it is not fun. That's seriously what I felt like. Don't ask me to do anything. If I want to do something, I will do it. If I don't, well then I am not going to right now. I am too sad to do anything. And now add on top the sadness of you just went out and took a smoke. You're a bad person. Thankfully I changed from that. Thankfully that was the period of time where I stopped being so hard on myself. I was seriously hard on myself. Like, there was a period where, kind of when I was kind of sort of coming out of being sad of losing the relationship, but still very much so sad about my smoking issue and stuff, I was like, I can't get married in the temple or do anything temple-wise or go on a mission until I'm done with this, and like, what if this doesn't end? What if I don't ever quit smoking? Very, So then I was like, I said a prayer. I said, Dear Heavenly Father, if I'm not going to quit this problem, then there's no point in me being around anymore. Take me in my sleep. I'm going to go to bed tonight. And if I'm not going to overcome this, then I don't want to wake up. The next thing I see should be wherever I'm going in heaven. Or if not in my sleep, then take me with a bolt of lightning, something. I'm still here, so obviously he didn't kill me. And I'm positive now that I'm going to overcome it, but what I basically learned is, oh, so either I am going to overcome this, or I'm not going to overcome it, but he still needs me here to bless somebody's life. So, yeah. That was very, very difficult and tough for me going through that phase, that state. I wanted to, I wanted to die, almost. And all the little things like posting online that she was proposed to and all that stuff, it really hit hard. And especially at the time I was working at a pizza place, and so that was my first legitimate job. I did have to pull it together and show up for work and all that stuff, and I did, and it worked out. I'm still here, I'm still doing YouTube videos, we're still friends, and it's good. But also for her, and part of me the whole time was like seriously thinking that at some point we were gonna get back together, which like I don't know why, but that was just me kind of going crazy and thinking, but seriously, it never was, and I don't know that I would have been ready to see that or able to see that when the legitimate breakup happened. And she's the one that broke up with me, and I'm glad, I'm very glad that it happened. Thinking about it, it's like, it could have worked, but not really. I am going on a mission, and there were a lot of other things back then that were just kind of like, yeah, no. Especially not right now, and, there was a little while where I wished that I kind of would have saved her the trouble, and it was like, I should have just said, I'm planning on going on a mission, let's not do anything, okay? Let's not date at all. And I was saying that not because I wanted to save myself from the heartache that came of this. I was saying that because I was thinking more so of her and all the painfulness that she went through with the breakup and everything, and thinking, yeah, I could have possibly saved it. But then again, it actually would have ended up being a lot of heartache in the beginning, too. And now that I've way past, at least 2 years ago, or I don't know how long ago, but I realized that was actually a very good relationship, and I learned a lot of things, and it was very helpful. Thank you so much. So the other thing, since I've kind of already alluded to who she is, if this is a problem again, I'm more than happy to edit this and take out any identifiers. But we did the Neverhood series together on my channel. And during that time, I really enjoyed it. And because, part of me kind of sort of felt like, it almost felt like we're together again. It felt like, yay, this is great time she's spending with me. It's time she's not spending with him. And she wanted to finish that. We started it when we were dating, and she wanted to finish it, and it was good, and we had a lot of fun playing the game. And I'm sure that I did kind of sort of make it awkward, I don't know how awkward I made it. And I kind of don't want to know, but, I mean, if you want to say it, go ahead. I'm all ears. probably could learn something from finding out how awkward I was. But yeah, so we're still very much friends, and it was good. I learned so much from that relationship for a lot of different things that have really helped me now. So I'm gonna end with a little summary here, and I'll kind of mention this part to my friend who's had the recent breakup, which for you, you sound like you're having a lot easier time. Sounds like you didn't have a big emotional attachment, because it was really strong for her. Like, when we broke up, basically we were going to FHE, and then she broke up with me, and so then, and she was very sad, she started crying, and then I was like, you know what, let's, and this is where I learned that sometimes you can't be friends, which the thought of that for me was like, oh, that's probably the worst thing ever. Probably almost as bad. For me, I feel like not being friends with somebody ever again would be almost as bad as going to the underworld. Going to where Satan lives. And yes, I'm avoiding saying that word because it's kind of on the edge sometimes, at least what I believe. But I said, let's say a prayer together, and then, we can kind of break up. And, you say the prayer, and after, like, a moment's pause, like, she couldn't have words come out. She couldn't say, and she's like, I can't. Well, okay, then let's say a quiet prayer, our own type of prayers right here. And so we prayed, and then she was like, I'm going to go. Like, no, you should stay for FHE. And she's like, yeah, you're right. And the logic behind that was, oh, we just had, a horrible experience. Why not fun time with friends? There's probably going to be a spiritual message that will help. And we were cleaning the church and then going to the park to play some games and activities. And the other thing too, and so that was kind of my logic behind it, but definitely wouldn't have worked for her. And so she's like, yeah, I'll stay. But then, we were cleaning the church, and before we went to the activity, like, she was gone. She left for home without telling me. And I was kind of like, well, where did she go? I didn't ask anybody, but it was kind of like, oh, it's kind of sad. I was hoping to spend a little more time. But nope. And also, I forget what brought it up, but I was sad. I didn't say why, but one of my friends who was a girl, not my girlfriend, but another friend who was a girl, she gave me a hug, and it felt nice, and that was really interesting, and it was kind of eye-opening. Wow. Hug does feel nice. Depending on who you get it from. I mean, it's still a little bit awkward hugging my mom. That's a whole nother story, and there's a whole lot of other reasons behind it. But, yeah, and she did slowly start warming up again, and eventually it was like we saw at Institute, how are you doing, kind of checking in on me. She was kind of always there for me, almost kind of wanting to make sure that I was doing okay, giving me a hug every once in a while, and it was really nice. I'm 100% positive that somewhere in there was the mentality, we're not going to date anymore, that doesn't work. But any way that I can help him, anything that I can do, I'm sure that was kind of behind her intentions and thoughts and actions. So that was tough. So my little summary here is going through a breakup is tough. My friend doesn't sound like as tough, but basically, make sure that both of you get enough space that you can fully disconnect and that you're still not kind of sort of attached. It might be different for them than it is for you, but you have to accept that. You have to be willing to accept that it might take her 2 months before she's fully disconnected and still not longing you. You have to get to a point where you're not, yay, I get to hang out with them excited. Because that can still be fun, and you can still have fun times if, if they can still hang out, but you can't, but, oh, this is the other thing I forgot. So when the breakup happened, like, I kind of wasn't crying, and she asked me why I wasn't crying, and I'm like, I don't really know. Maybe it's because I'm too too sad to cry, and she's like, oh yeah, I've had that happen, I get that. And she also kind of suffers with depression, which, I mean, I could say that I kind of suffered with depression, but no, I'm not going to, and I'm not going to get tested for it. What do you think I am? Crazy? You kind of sort of like have to be almost crazy. I consider it to be a little bit too crazy to go out and test myself for these things, because I'm probably going to turn up yes, and then like, oh great, now I have labels on me. Yeah, I'll just skip that altogether. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So thing I'm so, but and then I quickly realized part of it was that it hadn't fully sunk in yet, and the other half of it was that when I'm around her, I'm happy. Like, just making me sad around her is difficult. It washes away all my tears, which isn't necessarily a bad thing unless you're breaking up, and then it's. And so it was kind of like, yeah, I can't be sad around her. Just kind of innate, natural response. And so that's partly why, too. And nothing to do with I don't want to be sad around her. Because, like, there was a time where we talked and it was wonderful. I likened our relationship unto, Chasing Cars by Snow Patrol. Which, like, seriously, I love that song to this day. Haven't listened to it in a few months. I should listen to it again. But it was very much so sad, and it did take a while for it to set in. So yeah. Basically make sure that when you break up, both of you guys have enough time so that you're just friends and you're not dating anymore. You're not wanting the relationship to still go on. Find out how long that takes. Maybe ask them. Like, after it's been a little while and you think that you're okay with it, I would go and just say, hi, how are you today? I just kind of wanted to find out if for you it's been enough time. Can we hang out now? Or is it still going to be awkward and we're going to have problems, being friends right now? Find out. Make sure that that's cleared up. And that you're not still super emotionally attached. And then, I don't know, go from there. Every scenario is different, but that's kind of my thoughts on the subject and what I have to say with things, too. And one thing, I've mentioned this before, I'm going to mention it now because it's related. Like, when you're listening to music, I find it very, very wonderful and a rewarding experience to truly appreciate a song for what it is, so much so that you can enjoy that song even after it's been associated with something that was possibly the worst time of your life. It was horrible. I went through what my friend said was probably my Gethsemane experience, and I wish that's not going to be the only one. I've heard there are multiple Gethsemane experiences, and basically what that means is it's kind of likening it unto Christ when he went into the Garden of Gethsemane and bled out of every single pore for all the sins of the world. It's likening it unto that. And basically what, and so back then I learned that you're going to have multiple. The thing that I kind of want to ask my friend to mention this to me and see what he says, because I'm curious, and I'm also hoping this is true, but I'm hoping that the other Gethsemane experiences that I will have aren't as bad. Like, that one was the worst. 10 out of 10. the next one can only be 9 out of 10 because of that. I'm hoping it's that way. And I'm hoping that that experience helped prepare me for other breakups that I might have in the future. And the last thing that I will say, and then I will be done, is like, I'm not a sports person. And you know, they're still doing it kind of during summertime now, but like a lot of members from my ward will get together to play soccer. And but I'm not a sports person. Like, I did soccer when I was a kid, but if I didn't have my shin guards, it was like super scary, and I had to like not play soccer. I'm afraid of dying. I was afraid of going into a large group of kids twice my size kicking a ball around. And then my mom made me go through some baseball, which I didn't like baseball because all the running you had to do. Go figure. But I'm not a sports fan at all. I've played basketball, not and enjoyed it a couple of times, football once or twice. But I'm not really a sports person. But that was so sad that I specifically went to a soccer activity that my friends in the ward were doing because I didn't want to be like kind of with no friends, nobody to hang out with. That's how sad it was. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys learned something from this. And hopefully I haven't said anything that is, you know, a little bit too much for my friend. I think she'll be okay with this, but I'm going to send it to her now and double check. Hopefully I also haven't said anything that is kind of like, oh yeah, that's like socially awkward. Don't do that. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully this helps my friend. I'll see you guys in whatever's next.